Hey folks, I'm Jodie Lucas.
And I'm Copper Kelly, and welcome to the Folkin Around Podcast.
Your favourite country music podcast. And Copper, who are we talking to this week?
Well, this week, Joe, we spoke to the award-winning singer-songwriter from Dublin called Kenan Flannery. So we spoke about his influences, growing up in Northside Dublin, and also the Old Soul Music Collective that he founded.
Brilliant. So here's the episode and we will talk to you after.
Hi, Kenan. Thanks very much for joining us today. How are you doing today? You well?
Thanks a million. Yeah, thanks a million for having us. I'm well. I'm keeping sane, keeping healthy, happy. How are you?
Oh, geez, we're all the same. How are you getting on, Joe?
Yeah, not too bad over here. Just a bit jealous of all your snow, but maybe we'll get a bit here as well.
Yeah, I see nothing.
Fingers crossed for you.
Yeah. But Kenan, just tell the audience, if they don't know you, who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm always awful answering this question. This is
here we go, threw you in the deep end straight away.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I started playing music from a young age. You know, none of my family are really music savvy, but they, you know, have always loved trad music and kind of stuff like that. And you know, through the years, I played classical, flute, and I played in marching bands and stuff like that. And I never really got fully into it until I was about in fourth year in school, and we had the whole kind of transition year, and I picked up the guitar. You know, I played a bit of it when I was younger, but I really never took a liking or a loving for it. But with a bit of spare time, I picked it up and yeah, just started playing around with it, kind of getting the hang of it. And I was like, this is something I'd like to do, you know, for a while. So then in 2016, I started writing. I would call myself maybe a bit more folk than country, but I have a little nice blend of the two, with a little Irish Dublinese sprinkled in as well, if you like that.
You're on the Folkin Around podcast. So you're in the right
I was just saying, yeah, good with the name.
Folkin Around. There we go. Yeah, that's me. Basically, I've started writing. It was 2016, and then by the end of the year, I won an award for one of the songs I wrote. And then
Lady Music, was it?
Lady Music, yeah.
Tell us the story behind that song now.
It's just kind of well, the idea initially, I wrote it in a writing group up in Ballymun. It was kind of just a youth club, and I was involved in there. I used to be in a band back in the day, and I would go out there and we'd practice. And they do the spider diagram, the kind of there were loads of different tricks to write music, but one of them was
related words and things like this.
Pick a word and you kind of spot them around or whatever. So we did that, and I just started putting these things together, and I kind of figured, like, what about personifying music as a woman? You know what I mean? Because it can make you feel so many different things, up, down, ins and outs, all around. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where the song came from. Just persona. Like, when you can listen to it two different ways in terms of it's about a woman that you love or a man or whatever, you know what I mean? And or it can be about music. And yeah, it went on. I didn't think much of it. It was put into the Irish Youth Music Awards that was held in Crow Park, and showed up. I was just happy for a day out, you know what I mean? Like it was like happy days, Crow Park, a bit of free food, why not? So we went, and it got called out at the end, and from that was an incredible day. But from that I went on, I played in the Helix for the Goshka Silver Awards. I did a load of festivals, and I've done a lot of work for Dublin City Council as well, and gigs and kind of stuff that they put on. And yeah, it's just that was I would say the start of like my, maybe I should take this seriously kind of stage. And I started kind of properly writing and just fell in love with it. Yeah, so that's kind of, that was when I got the boot. You know what I mean?
So that Lady Music song, it was sang by someone else at the fest or at the competition, wasn't it? It was done by a group.
So the way the Irish Music Award work is they have every region, a youth club in each region that would be involved would have a representing act and a representing song. So the whole idea is like, if your representing song is like a hip hop song, but the representing act is like a metal band, it's kind of like they both have to work together to kind of like, how do you interpret? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but Karina and Kira were two girls that were nominated as the act. Incredible harmonies on them. And still writing music and playing today, thankfully. But they got picked and they performed it at the Crow Park, and they killed it. Yeah, they absolutely.
That's an interesting.
Were you involved in their sort of arrangement of it?
Yeah, I think like unconsciously, I think that was the beginning of like my thought process of, you know, when you write a song, you're like, this is it, and that's how it sounds.
Yeah,
and you're like, when I heard them, I was like, you know what, I can like, you can evolve a song, you can build it up, especially in production stages and kind of when you're in the studio, and you can make it sound larger than life. And like before that, I just wouldn't, you know, when I listened to music, I was like, oh, that's how it was written.
Yeah.
But usually it's not, you know what I mean? I'm sure Copper can attest to that, you know what I mean? When you're writing just on your guitar and you start building it. So that's when but they smashed it, and I always told them that they do it better than me, you know what I mean? Like, it's not my song anymore. They can have it, like, you know? So,
it's always nice to see how other people interpret your songs, isn't it? Because you can write it one way, and like you said, it can have so many different meanings, and it must be good as a songwriter to see people take that on as their own.
Yeah, I think that's for ages. Like, I've always tried, you know, you kind of, I think when you start doing it, you kind of struggle in times of why am I doing it? What's the kind of goal of what this is? Because it's a really rootless kind of industry to be in, you know what I mean? And you'll have many sleepless nights, you know, that you're just like, when was like, how am I getting by? You know what I mean? But I think for me anyway, when someone can connect, you know, the best way I put it is, do you remember when you were like in your teenage years and there was that one song that just broke you? Just was,
you listen to it like, you know, 10 times in a row.
Yeah.
That's it. And it just takes you back. And my dream is that my music can have that effect. And whether it's people listening or covering it or kind of interpreting it in a certain way, I think that's how, you know, you're like, for me, that's how success kind of works in terms of
a sort of song when you're sort of in the car and you're thinking you're in the music video as you're looking out the window and you're just feeling like every moment of
along,
it.
You know?
You can relate to
I do
it
that a lot when I'm walking down
level.
the road. I do sing.
Yeah. That's mad, yeah. But I suppose you were saying it's primarily folk that you do play. It's I kind of get a kind of a Bob Dylan vibe off you as well. A kind of singer-songwriter. Is he a big influence on you?
I will take that compliment. Yeah. I think I started with I used to be in an indie rock band.
Likewise. Same here.
Yeah, there you go. And like, I think for ages I was like, I played bass. I was like, I loved it, thought it was great. But then I heard Bob Dylan, and I think what resonated with me more than anything, and I think it's why I'm so obsessed with like kind of Western country and kind of really storytelling folk music, is because I'm just like this is telling a story, and it's telling a story in a way that, like, you know, like you said, Jodie, you feel like you're involved in it. You know what I mean? You're like, this is about me, you know?
Yeah.
In like, you know, and I think in the least crude way, it's like, yeah, this is about me. I think for ages, I loved hopping around on stage with a bass and kind of, you know, swinging my hair around and having a great time. But when I heard Bob Dylan, I was like, you know, I think all music touches people, you know what I mean? I think, but for me, I think the story element of folk music just actually blew my mind in terms of how all that is. And it was like, I want to do that. That's awesome. Like, tell a story that makes people act, like, feel something, you know? So
is it quite a comforting thing as well to think, because I know I'm a terrible songwriter, but as a listener of songs, sometimes when you hear something that you connect with, you get that feeling of, oh, it's not just me that feels like that. It's not just me that's alone. And is it the same with a songwriter, that you think, oh, this somebody else feels like me? It's not just me in this box that's feeling this way.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's definitely, regardless of how you look at it, or whether you're looking at it as a musician or a writer or just kind of a listener, it is, music has this like unreal effect of just being able to like alter your mood without you even trying. You know what I mean? It's like a trance state that you're in. So when you're like listening, or you're, you know, that's sure a lot of people would say, like, in in a weird way, no music is original because it's all, all songs are like a concoction of different influences. I would argue against that. I would say, obviously, there is a level of kind of originality in every piece of music because it'd be a bit weird and depressing if there wasn't, because you'd feel like nothing was yours. Yeah. But I think it is in terms of when you listen to a song, it can just shift you mentally, and just something comes out of you in terms of writing, and you're just like, and you look back at it, a couple of weeks later, and you're like, it's like you can't even, it's almost like you didn't write it, you know what I mean? It's so like you don't feel like it just came out of you. You're almost like a carrier of it in the most hippiest way
flows
possible.
Through you.
You know?
Yeah,
there you go. And if you didn't hear a certain song or you didn't connect in a certain way to a certain sound, probably wouldn't have came. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you're a great songwriter. Don't be putting yourself down.
I put words on a page and that's it.
That's how you start.
That's as far as it gets. It does have. But what is your songwriting process? Because we've spoke to a couple of songwriters, and obviously Copper has, his style. And we spoke to somebody last week who said they literally wake up at 4:00 in the morning, song in their head, sing it into their phone, and that's it. The song's done. Like, what if are you sort of somebody that goes, right, I'm going to write a song now? It's going to happen, or?
No, I do wish sometimes, because I'm like, you get the big writer's block. I think for me, it's all different, and I hate when people are like, it's the magic, like, you know what I mean? I think there's a system to it, but if you systematically use it too much, music just becomes so dry, and especially when you want to have some character or a story, So I think I would tend to live and write from my experiences, and good or bad. And you list, if you, especially the last record I put out, it's quite a self-destructing record. I think there's a lot of talk of kind of substance abuse and depression and stuff, and that a lot of that was written from like really late nights out, and late nights in studios, and just kind of doing a lot but feeling like you're doing very little progress. So I think a lot of the stuff that I love, in terms of like, it's hard to kind of be like, this is awesome, but the stuff that I'm like, I really like this, it tends to be really lived, or really it's me telling a memory in a musical way. But there is other, like I've written, sure, Copper is working on, we in the Also Collective, we're doing kind of a writing kind of prompt every month. And, I think they're incredibly helpful, especially when you're on writer's block. Like, people, you'll hear people that are like a bit more hippie about the whole writing process, being like, I won't use prompts, they'll just come to me. And you're like, okay, you do that, and I'm going to go over here. Because you can make such original stuff. It's not about going, I'm going to follow this prompt and I'm going to come out with something really bland. It's, you read, and then all of a sudden that word or that sentence just clicks something, and it just comes out, because you're like, it's almost like you're narrowing your creative flow, and by narrowing it, you eventually open it and broaden it, because you've clicked something, you've opened the door because of something that was in a prompt or the spider diagram. So I do use a lot, especially when I'm struggling with writer's block. I do use a lot of like writing games and just writing words down, maybe cool phrases that I think would be cool in songs. And I probably use 5% of them, you know what I mean? But it is the process of just breaking the mold and trying to get out of that. Because I think when stuff just comes without anything happening, I think they're the best pieces of.
Yeah. And you mentioned the Old Soul Collective, which is how I know you, Kenan.
Indeed, it is.
We started chatting there a few months ago online. We've never actually met in person. So we've just started chatting over the last, what was it, a few months, I guess? We're just
a few months now. I'm off full time, but it's been a few months now.
Time runs into anything at the moment, doesn't it? You just don't know how long anything is.
Yeah. So like I've joined the collective, the Old Soul Collective that you have going. So tell the listeners, what is the collective and
the Old Soul Collective? What is it all about? That nice cue. It's basically a collection of musicians, folk and country orientated. And it's actually kind of branched a bit more. There's poets, there's artists, there's painters, there's graphic designers, there's people. But the idea is we all know a little, and together we know a lot. So we support each other, we collab, we promote each other, we share each other's, little things like that. It's the idea of, you're not alone if you have a team behind you. And the team is just supportive musicians that are all working for a similar goal. You know what I mean? You can go so far. We would share contacts, we would share kind of ideas, we would share little tricks of the industry. I would say like Copper's very versed in mixing and mastering and all the little jiffies to do with recording music. And, he would help out a lot with me. If I have a record coming out, we'd send it on to him, he'd give me a lot of feedback. And it's little things like that, and we're working on lots of big things like a blog, and me and Copper were chatting about podcasts. I'm not going to steal him from you, Jodie, don't worry.
You can have him.
The beauty of it is it's whatever it wants to be, you know what I mean? And the idea is if you're involved, if you can take something from it and give to it, that's all you need, you know what I mean? And the more people we have, you don't need a big record label to like steal loads of your money, you know what I mean? And promote you and get you nowhere. If you just have a handful of friends / musicians that are all like-minded, they all know a bit about the industry, but we're all still up and coming, you know what I mean? We can really push each other hard and get us further than we could on our own, so.
It's really refreshing for people to be sort of that way and support each other, because there's so many areas I've worked in different areas of music, and some of it's just so competitive and bitchy, and, people want to be so private of, oh no, you're not having my contact list or what I'm doing or an idea or anything. And you just think, it's the relationships that you build. And I think we've probably said this on every interview that we've done, that a lot of anybody that's successful, it's who you know and who you've got in your corner willing to push you and take a chance on you. And like you say, it doesn't have to be the biggest record label or anybody. If you want to be your own artist and your own person, it is having the right people around you. So it is really refreshing that there is people out there like that aren't just out for themselves, really.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. And you can pay someone, a couple of £100 to help you out. But the minute the money runs dry, they're gone, And I think
not all of them. As a PR manager, I can say they're not all.
Well, okay. I'm bagging up the wrong chair. I feel like I'm calling you out now.
All my clients listening.
The bad ones.
Yeah, I think you're add that in.
But that's the beauty of, I think, when it comes to these big firms that people would go, okay, the goal is to get picked up by this firm or that, and I'm sorted. It's like, you're not really, you know what I mean? Because you kind of need the work. You need to do a lot of work. They're only gonna, it's not the way it was in like the 80s where they pick you up and they record you and, they do everything. It's like they expect so much from you nowadays, and it's kind of hard. It's almost impossible.
And you're so controlled as well from when I know from when I was like 20 years ago when I started out, and I, wanted to be my own artist. And there were so many people around me that was going, oh, but you have to be like Britney Spears, because Britney Spears is how you should sound. It's how you should look. It's how you should be. It's how you should act.
It's what the people want.
I remember every single audition I went to, and I was in a girl band as well at the time. And I kept being put into all these different girl bands, and I'd gone on like TV shows and things like this. It was always like, you should be in a band. You should be in a band. That's what the big thing is at the moment. And my biggest problem is I'm 6 foot tall. So everybody else that's in music tends to be a lot shorter than 6 foot. And it's no matter how many times they can say to me, you need to go on a diet, you need to do this, you need to do that. I'm never going to be short. I'm never going to be fit into that box as how people want you to be. And I think that's the problem when you go to these bigger places, is they have an idea of oh, this sells, so that therefore it means that's what you have to be and how you have to, you know.
They want to package you like a product, very much.
It is ridiculous, but I think the beauty of standing your ground, you know what I mean? I think it's like the idea of making so much sound that they can't ignore you. You know what I mean? You might not think the way I act or the way Copper acts or whatever, you know, will sell, and then they won't touch you. But if you build a support, and that's the thing, you will build, if you're building a support group, your support group, especially if you're yourself, you know, they'll love you for it, you know, and there's no panicking about if they meet you in person or this or that, because you're not putting on an act, you know what I mean? You chat to them, you know, I'm a bit of crack, but I'm also really socially awkward as well. People know that. I'm like, oh, how's it going? Like, and you know, and I think, you know, as you build and if you just stay yourself, there'll be a point where you, like, if you work really hard, you will be making loads of sounds. And then, you know, if you end up deciding, you know, all right, well, you know, record label or whatever has reached out to me, you can have the argument and go, look at this is me and this has worked. So you don't touch me, because this is how it's worked. And I'll keep working if I don't sign with you, or I don't do this or do that. So it's like, you know, it's about kind of standing your ground almost, you know, as hard as
having the confidence to do that as well, isn't it? Because it is really hard for these sort of 17, 18-year-olds that get signed and just think, oh, I just want to sing. And they don't understand that there's more to it than just standing on the stage and singing.
They're going to get
I'm
famous
too lazy
quick.
to change.
Yeah, and I suppose nowadays, in the last few years, like, technology has changed so much that the like of myself and yourself, Kenan, I built my own little home studio here. I can make music myself. I get the help of some friends as well on some things, backing vocals and things like this as well. But for the most part, making my own music and doing it the way I want. I've no producer telling me how I should sound, no record label telling me, oh, you have to have such a song on such a date, and you have to sound like this, or if your album doesn't sell, we're going to drop you.
Going, oh, I'd release that one, or I wouldn't release that one.
But like, we're in this nice position that we don't have people telling us what to do, and we can find our own sound, our own way. And you have a similar situation as well. You have your own way of recording yourself and just writing your own songs. How do you find that whole idea?
Doing everything kind of on your own, like.
And just the freedom to do what you want.
I think there's pros and cons to it. Like, I do love a good studio. There's a local studio we have, Pirate Studio, just down the road, and it's, you know, it's cheap, and it's not, you know, it has a recording booth and stuff like that. But there's something about going in there and being under a time constraint. But you have to preface the point that it's not the same as getting signed by a record label and having, like, there's a difference between having a producer, which is a mate of yours that like, you know, knows how you want your image to be, how you want your sound to be. They're helping you. But there's a difference between that and having a producer signed to a major label that is kind of telling you what to do, you know. I do like here, because as you said, there's no time restraints, and you can walk away. It kind of gets, you know, you're kind of kicking yourself, because if you miss a day or you don't walk, it's your own fault.
Yeah, there's
but
that,
it also,
of course.
That's the thing, like, you know, I walk away here and I can come back 5 days later and listen and go, you know, oh, that was cool when I did it, but it was late when I did it at night. So now I hear it with fresh ears. It's grand. I'm not walking for...
Is it hard to be constructive with yourself, though?
Yeah, 100%. I think you do. There's a little trick I use, and you can take it, steal it, right?
Okay, so go on.
I forget where I heard it, right? And I kicking me that. I think one of my friends told me. I can't remember, but basically,
someone's going to be listening to this now, going, "I bloody told you that."
Give me some credit, like. But basically, what it is you have a piece of music, whatever, and you're like, okay, I think it's good, but it's very hard to be subjective to it. So what you do is you get someone else to listen to it, right? And going to be like, listen to it, tell me what you think, right? You don't really need to listen to what they're going to tell you, because when you're listening with them, your brain ticks to what you think they're going to hear. Yeah. And then you start listening like them, because you're not going like this, you're going, and you're kind of looking at them going, oh, here's this big bit. Here's the big bit with the flute or the violin. Are they going to hear it? And they don't. And you're like, I didn't even hear that because I'm too focused on you. Maybe I should turn that up. You know, and little things like that. So you're like, it's good. Yeah, they can give you feedback, but it's the idea of you're clued into how they're perceiving it. Like, you forget that it's your song. You're now like really like, oh, you know, really like this bit.
Yeah. I do that as well. Yeah, it's good. It's like if you have like a really funny TV show you're dying to show your friend, and then you stick it on and you're watching the first episode with them. If you've probably watched it 2 or 3 times already, you know every beat, you know every joke that's coming up, but then you look at it and they're not laughing. Why aren't they laughing? Did they take his crap? You know, so you're seeing it then from a different perspective as well. So it's it's a very good trick.
Yeah. It's like, it's really little, you know. It takes if your song is 4 or 5 minutes long, it takes 5 minutes, you know what I mean? And then after you're writing stuff down, they tell you're like, yeah, whatever, thanks, and you write whatever if you like what they're telling you. But at the same time, subjective to them. You know, at the end of the day, you know, if you're happy with it in terms of your music, release it, be proud of it. You know, it's very hard to talk up a record or something, you know what I mean, that you release if you're not happy with it. You know,
I think you said that a few times, haven't you, Copy? You've always said just write for yourself, and if you're happy with it, then hopefully other people will be, but at least you are.
Yeah, if you're happy with it,
the world is big enough.
Yeah, exactly. And people like listening to it, great. If they don't, there's other singers to go and listen to, you know. That's the way I look at it. There's plenty more.
Yeah, hit the nail on the head. As long as you're happy, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
We kind of said that with the podcast as well, didn't we? I remember one of the first times we spoke about it, I said to Copper, I was like, what if nobody listens to it? And he was like, well, if we have fun making it, that's all that matters. We'll listen back to it.
Look, that life is too short to not have fun, isn't it?
Yeah. That's it.
You might as well enjoy it.
That's it. Kenan, tell me, you're a Northsider up in Dublin, are you? Is that right?
I am indeed. Yeah. Can you tell by the accent?
I can tell, yeah, but see, that's
I feel like I'm going to have to put some translation on for the two of you.
Just down
my only job.
He is speaking Dublinese.
Yeah, but what was it like growing up in Northside of Dublin? Because me down here in Wexford, I'm completely far removed from that whole world. I have no idea what it's like. So what was it kind of like growing up in the Northside of Dublin?
Well, I love it. Like, let me just preface that. And you know, you
love it.
I don't know if you.
There was I was waiting for that, but it was coming.
You know, I don't know if you know the kind of geography of Dublin, Jodie, but there's like north and south is the posh side. You know, hello. You know, and north is a bit more of the north.
I feel like I'd be in the south.
How's it going? You know. I love it. Most of my family are from Finglas, and you know, I'm me and my sister are the only ones that have lived and raised in Cabra, and like there's weirdly not a big music kind of scene around. You know, the youth clubs are always like any youth clubs have been involved. They were always kind of football and sports based. That's kind of, you know what I mean, like especially when you have just kids running amok around Cabra, the football's there, they kick it over the road, like, and then obviously in Ballymun they have the Reco, which was the youth club that I would practice with the band in, and they were really music orientated. But up in Ballymun, they, you know, had a lot of funding, and they got like they had like a theatre built, and they had all these like kind of more art orientated kind of things. So, you know, you can see that community kind of growing, especially when they get funding and they start kind of sinking into certain areas, whether it's sport, whether it's whatever. You can see the community grow. I do love where I live. It's, you know, it's quiet. I like to call my road the oasis of Cabra, because around us it's just mayhem, and this you know, on Christmas morning you hear the scramblers flying up the road. But my road, there's an old folks home just down the way, and there's a park just across, so you know, it's quiet enough. Like, I like it. I think I've never had any trouble with it. I think you always see people saying, when you live in an area, as good or as bad as it gets its name, when you live there your whole life, you don't really cop it. You know what I mean? Like, there's obviously,
that's all you know.
Yeah, like, obviously when you see something going, you know, it's up, you can go, oh well, you know, stay clear of that, like, or whatever. But I think in essence, like, I'm not, like, I love where I live. You know, I think it's a community. I think there's a beautiful. It's the closest thing you're gonna get to a country community when you're down, you know, in the countryside. Like, there's a beautiful community down there. I would argue that the north side would have a stronger community than the south side. I think, I just feel like everyone is, you know, out to support each other. Everyone out, and I think that's where my love of, like, the collective was, like, oh, I should do a collective, because, like, everyone just, like, will say hello to you. Everyone will, you know, smile at you. You know what I mean? That's, everyone will, you know.
Like that where I live, I've always been, like, quite city based, and you say hello to somebody and they think you're going to mug them or something.
Yeah.
You know, they just, it's an odd thing.
You're a weirdo.
You smile at somebody and they think that, they think you're just, who's that weirdo smiling at me? I just smile at everyone. It's a bit hard with a mask on now.
Something else, you know what I mean? They think they're out to get you. He's going to steal me, you know.
So you didn't have the old country dances or anything, the social dances and things? You didn't learn to jive when you were younger and things?
We had GAA discos. That was our thing. There was one, I remember, first time I ever kissed a lady, you know what I mean? And you'd go to these, it was called the Aaron's Oil GAA Club. It's over in Finglas. And you'd go in and you'd walk. I remember so clearly, you walk in, and on the right there was a table stand, and they stole cans of Coke and Menthols, like the menthol sweets. And you'd buy them, and you'd be going around, and you'd always go, you know, you'd have the way it worked is you'd have your group of friends and you'd dance and all, and you'd say, can you see that girl over? Can you go over and ask her to shift me? Your friend would go over and he'd be like, what's up? See him over there, and you pretend you're, like, cool. You'd be, like, pretending to laugh with your friend. And you go, will you shift him? And she's like, no. You're like, all right. That was, like, the closest thing I got to, like, a joy back in the day. But I was in an all-Irish school, so we did, like, Irish dancing and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just want to explain the word shift for people that don't understand. It's like snog, or a French kiss.
A French kiss.
I don't know. Did you know? You probably know that word, Joe.
Yeah. I think I know enough of Irish people. And I am Irish, to be fair. I just speak the most English there's anyone's ever known. But I am Irish.
That's cool. And so what kind of a scene is there in Dublin for folk, for the kind of folk and country?
I think it's kind of shifted a bit. You know, there's a really strong singer-songwriter scene, and you'll see that with the amount of open mics and stuff. And then over the last while, I think it was when Gavin James started kicking around and stuff, things started to slightly shift to a more well-produced kind of auto-tune,
ultra polished.
Yeah, kind of singer-songwriter, you know what I mean? And there was two ways people went. People went that way. They kind of made almost a bit more electronic kind of singer-songwriter music. And then the other way was, to me, was the folk way. That they're people that were just, like, either didn't want to change the sound, didn't want to over-polish it, we're a bit too lazy. And I may be in that category. I was like, I'll stick to what I'm doing. But no, I think it's a slight change. I think there is a strong community, you know, and especially, you know, there's that's where, honestly, I always come back to the Also Collective, but that's one of the things that popped up for me. There was always an open mic, Minty's Indie Club in the International Bar every Wednesday. And we would go in, and it'd be the same lads and the same ladies, and they'd come, and it'd be a couple of points, and you know what I mean, and people would sing. But there was just a nice sense of community, you know what I mean? So I thought, as much as, you know, people are competitive, and there's a handful, as you said, we won't talk about names, but there's a handful of people that are a bit too competitive in certain industries. But I think overall, there's a beautiful sense of it's like, look, if I put you down as a musician, right, you're not going to make it. But I'm spending so much time putting you down that I'm not going to make it either.
Yeah.
So, like, what's the point? You know what I mean? You do well. And obviously, you do have to, when you see someone that does well or gets something that you'd like, you know, there's a part of you that goes like, oh, like, I wish I did that, you know, whatever. But, like, it's like, go on, like, support people, show love. People need to, you know, there's enough room for all of us to make it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The only reason we don't is because we tend to fight amongst ourselves and kind of go, oh, you know.
It's the jealousy thing, isn't it? I think a lot of people, and particularly if you're from the same sort of backgrounds and communities and things, if you all come from the same place, people have a problem with people that succeed because they think, why haven't I succeeded, without thinking that they haven't put the work in or the effort or anything like that. But they just don't like people coming from the same backgrounds and doing well for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it in a nutshell. And it's just a personal trait in people. And when people kind of shift it or decog the system, as you can say, kind of alter it in a different way, you'd be surprised. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's about, I think, I don't know, you might be able to test to this, but you may have, for me, I'll have, and I'm trying to get better at this, but I'll have a goal that I'm like, when I get this done, I'll be happy, right? I'll be proud or, you know, whatever. The amount of things I do to get to that goal that I'm not patting myself on the back for. Yeah. You know, that doesn't mean you turn on your computer and go, I'm proud of myself off the bed, you know what I mean? But it's like when you finish a mix, when I finish recording the guitar, when I finish vocals, or when I send a couple of emails for press stuff, I'm not like I'm not like, oh, well done. Like, I worked hard because I'm like, done. Yeah, it's like you don't even think about it. And then what, you know, your goal may be achievable, you know what I mean? And most goals are. But, you know, maybe it's not as easy. Maybe it's like, wanting to get in a certain magazine or getting to play a certain festival or whatever. And if you don't get it, you know, you're instantly like, everything I've done was a waste. I should have done more. But that if you decog the system, you can kind of go, well, you know, there's always next time. I worked hard. You know, look at the stuff I've done. And it's a battle we are, and there's no one that can change that. You know, I mean, people think that if you get a certain amount of streams or a certain amount of followers, that will change. No, because it's an internal thing that you should.
And you're knowing that when you do play your gigs, I've seen pictures of you standing up on top of stools and bar tops, and you just run around the place like a madman, basically.
Yeah.
Have you ever fallen off or hurt yourself at all? Or
when I started doing it, I originally started with Cheap Wine. So Cheap Wine and Foreign Men was one of the songs that I think it was an awesome phase because everyone kind of knew it when I play, and they'd all sing along. But I belt it out, you know what I mean? I don't really need a microphone for it sometimes. So I started getting a stool and standing in the middle of the bar on a stool and just playing it. And then as that started happening, I done about 2 or 3 times. And then one night, you know, I was playing and I didn't really recognize anyone in the audience. And I said I was going to do Cheap Wine. And now, out of nowhere, someone just pulls a stool in front of me and goes, there you go. I was like, oh, Jesus, no bother, you know. So off I got. And they're great and they might not admit it. You know, the barman, John, might not admit it. But yeah, I think he doesn't mind the risks I give to health and safety. And he's often giving me the eyebrows when he'd come in, you know, and I'd be standing on the bar, like the bar top, or I'd be standing on a table or something. He'd come in, and I'd be like, sorry, you know. But yeah, no, that I started doing it everywhere. Then I played in Fibber McGee's, which was like a proper like metalhead bar.
Great place. Been there a few times.
It's a scary place if you're not a metalhead.
No, sad, no.
It is.
Metalheads look scary, but they're big fluffy bunnies inside. They're all good. They're all happy people.
Yeah, we'll find it. I walked in like an Egypt, right? I walk in with a paddy cap on and a poncho, right? A cowboy poncho. Right? And I walk in and I plug in, and first of all, because I'm playing acoustic guitar and they're usually used to electric and drum, the guitar just feeds back massively and gets everyone's attention, which I didn't want, right? I didn't want that. You keep drinking your pint. I'll sing me folky songs. Don't worry. Right? Everyone just tons, right? All these big bearded metalheads just, and I'm, here we go. And I start playing and then we had a bit of crack and then a couple of covers like I did a Lonely Boy from the Black Keys and got everyone going. And then I done Cheap Boy and I done Folsom Prison Blues and I jumped off the stage and stood on a still. And I remember at one point I was playing and I had a harmonica for Folsom Prison Blues and it fell out of the harmonica holder.
Yeah.
And just some random dude, now we wouldn't do this nowadays with COVID, but some random dude picked up the harmonica and he went to give it to me and I went, play! And he just started playing the harmonica and I'm going away and he's standing, he doesn't know how to play, he's like, just blowing into it. And we're having the time of our life we were. But yeah, like there's been so many, I tried to incorporate that still standing in like a lot of the shows because it's just fun. Like a show is an event, it's an occasion, it's something to be entertained by, you know what I mean? You can be connected and enthralled and just, I think enthralled is a word, but I'm just going to assume it is.
Oh, it is, absolutely.
It is.
I'm throwing out big words now. But you can be captivated by a show and enjoy it and just be involved. But you also, it's good to be entertained as well. And I always come out with these like, I come out with stupid jokes and like that no one laughs at and like, and it's just the whole idea of just it being like an event that you can kind of go, what happened? He sang some songs. No, he sang some songs and then he was like chatting with us and he was like standing on chairs and doing weird stuff.
But you'll have people now waiting for that. I know, like I've been to see the Kaiser Chiefs, for example, and Ricky, the lead singer, will always climb up the side of the stage and you'll always see security like get down off the side of it, like the big stages, he's climbing up them. And I can remember going to one and they were actually a support act for something, or it was a festival, there was something, it wasn't there, they weren't headlining, but everyone was just there going, climb the stage. And they were not letting them leave that stage until he had climbed it. And that's what you're going to have. You're going to have people just be like, get on the stool.
They throw the stool in front of you now.
I'll get on the stool.
Up there now.
Now, I don't know. There will be a day where I will fall off the stool and
straight onto one of the like big tough guys. Start a bar fight.
No, you'll be caught and then you'll be crowd surfed around the place. That'll be an extra element to your performance. So
there you go. I've always wanted the crowd surf, but no, yeah, at folk shows, I'm sure the audience will, go on, jump. Me finger picking over in the corner, like,
You never know.
It's sad that you can't even imagine things like that happening now with COVID, of ever being able to, like the
people
few gigs that I ended up going to at the end of last year, there was like screens in front of them and everything, like they had to sing, but like it was just not very interactive.
I did a gig, one of my last gigs in March, so it was my 21st last March, and I was like, I'll put on a show.
Why does everyone make us feel so old, Copper? This is like really unfair.
He's only a young fella.
Ancient is He's not still hip though.
But
it's
hip
like,
to be square.
We're like old enough to be your parents. When we go, we need to change these guests that we're having.
Get someone ancient on, yeah. No, you don't. You look hip and young. Don't worry.
I think now we'll take this interview into a new segment. I haven't run this past Joe, but I'm going to call my segment of random questions Copper's Corner. So come on into Copper's Corner here.
Hey! It's lovely and warm.
But you're going to read us a story or something. You're going to sit on the floor.
Join me beside the fireside. I
you
just
need
like
a pipe.
I like to end out our interviews with just kind of random questions, kind of general kind of stuff. Like, first one would be, what was the first CD that you've ever bought?
Oh, what was the first CD I ever bought?
And if you say Copper Kelly, I'm just switching off.
How did you know? First CD I've ever bought was probably either like a Kerrang.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember Kerrang, the rock station?
Magazine.
It was either one of them like 2006 year collection.
Compilation ones, yeah.
Or it was do you know what it was? More than likely it was probably Dookie from Green Day.
Yeah.
Or like an Eminem CD. But I know for a fact that the first vinyl ever I got was like a compilation of like Jimi Hendrix best. Yeah. So I know that, but Jesus, your ass, it had to go back in the memory there a while now.
It's bad when he asked me that and I had to go, well, the first cassette I bought was and it was like Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan in the 80s.
What's a CD though? I've never heard of the CD.
But if you had a dinner party, and you could invite 3 people from history, dead or alive, who would you invite and why would you invite them?
I would invite Townes Van Zandt. He is everything. I have a TVZ tattoo on my ankle for his initials. His story is so heartbreaking, what his life, and I just think the guy was so underrated, you know what I mean? And the way he writes is incredible. I'd love to sit down and just talk to him about, how, because as I said, I try to live a lot of the stories I write, and there's no one that does it better than him, you know what I mean? So I think it'd be phenomenal to sit down and just experience his aura. Who else would I sit down with?
Would Bob Dylan be in there, I wonder?
I don't know.
Or is he too cranky nowadays?
To be honest. Because Bob Dylan, I feel like he's a very private guy now. I feel like he'd be very awkward to chat to.
Yeah.
I've seen him live once and he was like super awkward on stage, and I was like, don't know if I'd want to chat with him. Still like his music now, don't be that way. If I end up,
I know.
If you end up seeing him someday,
fans have a weird relation.
We'll turn him away if he turns up.
Fans have a very weird relation with Bob Dylan, doesn't he? He just kind of he gets up and plays his songs in the style that he wants, and people don't really recognize him until they're over. It's like, oh, geez, that was blown in the wind. Oh, that was weird.
I get it. I get what, play, as you said, play for you, but there is a level of when I went to see him, I was like so pumped, and I left, and I was like, he couldn't even sing along because he's singing like, yes, my friend is blown in the wind, and you're like trying to follow what he's saying. You're trying to lip read him and sing along, But anyway, Townes Van Zandt would be one. I think who else would I sit down with? I probably would sit down with, I'd like to say some American presidents. Who was Theodore Roosevelt was mad. He was mental.
Teddy Roosevelt.
He got he was
riding the moose back on the back of a moose or something, wasn't he? Or
the fella was he was just a superhero. I remember back in apparently I heard a story where he was elected as president, and then he vanished for 2 months, right? Just out of Oval Office, gone, right? No one knew where he went. He was just in Yellowstone Park, just hunting and stuff. And they had to send a posse out to find him. And they were like, oh, you're here. And he's like, yeah, I'm just hunting. You're like, dude, you're I reckon he'd be mad to sit with. Yeah, there's that gaff back there. And probably him. Then I'd probably sit down with me granda, if that's not too sobby. You know what I mean? I think he passed away when I was young, but I think I take a lot of influence from him and stories, and have a lot of memories of him. And my dad's just literally exactly like him. You know what I mean? So probably with him, because I think he was a big, he loved the old he was mad about Marty Robbins and stuff like that. And I think it'd be great to sit down with him. That's it. I think he would be probably fascinated at the fact that I listen to that music. He's like, you're not a bit too young for that music. Yeah. But I think we'd have a great crack chatting. Yeah, and it'd be funny. It'd be funny, and I think him and Theodore would get along pretty well. They'd have a bit of crack.
Sounds like
I always notice Copper and I never get invited to these dinner parties.
That's not about that,
we can have a dinner party, right? You just don't even have to be dead or alive. You can come, right? And you can party, and we can, we'll have some cocktails, we'll have a great time.
We'll bring out the acoustic guitars, have an old jam.
sing along.
That's it.
You know what I mean? We'll have a great crack. We will.
I can play the harmonica. There we go. I beat the guy in the bar.
There you go. You can play. We have a band. We do. You know what I mean? We have a band.
We could even do a bit of karaoke, which leads me to my next question. If I handed you a microphone and say, "Here now, Kenan, what song are you want to sing for us tonight in karaoke? What would you sing?"
What would I sing? I'd sing something cheesy.
Yeah, that's the only
have to on
way.
karaoke, don't you?
Yeah, like I'm not like, I'll sing Johnny Cash. Like, no, like I love Johnny Cash. I sing him normally.
Yeah.
But I need something tasty. I need like, probably like Summer Nights or something from Greece.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Summer loving happens. It's gonna be great.
Can I be Sandy?
Or, definitely that. Or like, I'd do something stupid. I'd probably do like some Tenacious D song or something.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
But it's just and giggles like.
A bit of ABBA. That's always
a bit of ABBA,
karaoke.
Is it bad to say I'm not a big ABBA fan? Like, I feel like that.
No, that's it. Cut the interview.
I know. Everyone is like, the amount of times I've done live streams and people like play ABBA, and I'm just like,
do you like Dolly Parton? Because that's where I draw the line. If you don't like
Dolly, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
She released like a remastered version of 9 to 5, like a new. It's really good. She's still got it. Yeah. She still can kill it.
I'll tell you something about ABBA. I was at this house party about probably 10 years ago.
If you tell me that ABBA walked in, I'm just gonna be like,
no.
It's already. And they stood in the corner of the room and they just walked in.
But I was in this house party. It was, a bunch of rockers, a bunch of metalhead. There was metal music going on the radio and stuff. Then someone decided to put an ABBA CD on, and like we're all looking at each other like, "What? Who the hell threw this on?" And about 5 minutes in, or 5 minutes later, we're all like, "Waterloo." Like the whole kitchen was just going nuts. It was so good.
Love it.
So that's the perfect thing. If you're at a house party, just phone ABBA. Everyone's happy.
Everybody loves ABBA. I remember years ago I went to see Green Day in Milton Keynes, and everyone was wild there. And ABBA came on. They play the songs before they come on. And ABBA came on, and the place went wild. It was amazing. Everyone loves ABBA.
That's it.
I wouldn't. I'd like them at a party. I'd like them at a bar. But
you wouldn't sit down with your headphones on and listen to them. And
my hype music that I would listen to in the morning. Like I try to dance as much as possible, because dancing, especially during lockdown, right?
Yeah.
If you can dance for 5 minutes, your blood pumps, you feel great. My one is Boney M. I love Boney M.
Okay.
Right? They get me pumped, right? Right, and my missus will tell you, right, she will be cooking, and she's awful at getting up in the morning. She'll drag herself out, and I'll be up because the little, like, a dog here just lying beside me, and he'll just be waiting for a walk, you know what I mean? And he's great. So he gets me up because he wants to go out, and I'll be cooking or whatever, and she'll come in like, rah, rah, and I'll be going for her, and I'll be dancing, and she'll be, you stop like it's
just Rasputin,
9:30 in the morning, and you're hopping around the kitchen like a lunatic. So but you need to get pumped. You can. I think Boney M are one of the best bands of all time. Like,
that's nice. And my last question, I think the last question, unless you have any more questions, Joe.
No,
this is my last question. I always like to leave this last. But do you have any ghost stories, Kenan?
I don't really believe in ghosts.
Okay.
I know that. I'm so like narcissistic about it. Like, I don't believe I this is going to upset so many people, but I think astrology is like one of the stupidest things ever.
Okay.
Like star signs. Like, I'm just like,
I can agree with you on that one too.
You're like 12 stars. Oh, when were you born?
And Joe was like looking at her things in the paper this morning. It's like, how's this podcast going to go?
I'm like, are we compatible? Me when I'm on Tinder. What star sign are you?
I told my missus that I like didn't believe it, and she was like, "Oh, that's such a Pisces thing to say."
Oh.
What? Like, this house I live in, like, my great granddad died in like this room apparently, and apparently he died in this room, and
so I noticed there's a guy standing beside you the whole time. I didn't want to ask.
He's chilling out with me. He's telling me the answers to all their questions. But like, at night you'd hear like, with wooden doors and stuff, when it gets cold, like wood will kind of creak and stuff.
Expanding.
Yeah. And when I was younger, I was like, that's not wood. That's just my great granddad out to murder me in my sleep. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what I thought. Like, But I wish I had better stories. Maybe if I moved down the country, I might have better stories.
You never know.
Come back to me in a few years and I'll let you know.
But Kenan, thanks very much for coming on. And you've had an EP come out recently called I've Been Condemned. That's where can people find that? People
can find that on Spotify, Bandcamp, Apple Music, iTunes, Google Play. That is actually leaving now. Google Play is YouTube Play or YouTube Music.
That's right.
Anyone
YouTube Music
uses
now,
that.
Yeah. And iTunes is no more as well as all Apple Music now. You can't buy a single anymore or anything like that. So
I'm losing it. I feel like I'm getting old now. But
he just say he feels like he's getting old. Like really,
man, like I do. Like I'm getting there.
Wow.
He's the young fella with the flat cap on him. So
yeah, this is me with like my hot Lucasade.
The minute TikTok showed up, I was like, I've lost it. I'm no longer hip. I don't know what this thing is.
But the thing is, it's addictive. When it first came out, my friends were all on it, and I was like, "You're all too old. You're all stupid. You look pathetic. What are you doing?" Like about 3 weeks into lockdown, I was like, "Fine, I'll do a TikTok," and then it got really addictive, and now I really like TikTok.
I will get addicted to it. I will. Done a few things, but it is the thing. I'm just like. I don't want to change. I just like I like Facebook and Instagram. There you go.
This is another platform I have to learn how to use.
We've talked about this. It's like because it's so great for creators because like the algorithm is phenomenal. It just lets your stuff be seen.
Perhaps that could all change.
Yeah. Take advantage of it now.
Exactly.
But I'm just like, I'm like putting my foot down. Like I don't want to learn it. But you can find the EP everywhere. I've Been Condemned. Look up Kenan Flannery. Kenan like Kenan and Kel, and Flannery.
Who loves orange soda?
Kel loves orange soda. I'm actually named after Kenan and Kel.
Are you?
My dad loved the show.
I was just gonna say, how is he old enough to remember it? And now the fact that you're named after him says a lot.
Like that young. Like I used to watch Kenan. Like Kenan Kel ended.
Yeah, but we're like nearly 40.
Kenan Kel is hip with the times now.
Yeah.
Here it goes. Great.
Brilliant.
But you can find me everywhere. Anyway, and you can actually find me on TikTok as well. So I am there. Don't worry. But thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure. Copper, you're a legend. Jodie, it was an absolute honor to meet you. You're lovely, and hopefully I'll see us all in real life. We can actually have our dinner party.
Yeah,
exactly. You know from a distance, maybe.
So everyone, go check out Kenan Flannery and check out the All Souls Collective as well. A lot of like-minded folk. Of course, they're on Facebook, and you're on Facebook, and all that good crack. Anyway,
all the lovely stuff.
I'll make sure to put some links out in the podcast description below. But of course, go over to Spotify and iTunes and all, or Apple Play as it's called now, and go stream his music. It is really, really on the amazing songwriting. I can say that without hesitation. Thanks, and I really want to get people listening to you because you're actually fantastic. So fair play to you, and thanks again for coming on. And we'll hopefully have you on again soon. Anyway.
Oh, you will indeed.
We'll talk to you again, Kenan. All the best.
Talk to you again. Have a good one.
So that was our interview with the amazing Kenan Flannery. Did you enjoy that one, Copper?
I did. Kenan's a good chap. I've known him for a few months now, and he invited me to be part of his Old Soul Collective. And so I'm delighted to have him on here to chat about his music and that. But also, if you want to hear what Kenan actually sounds like, what his music sounds like, wait around to the end of the episode and you'll hear his latest song. It's called Kit's Song. It's a beautiful, beautiful track. So wait around to the end of the episode to hear that. But for now, I suppose we go on to our weekly segment. This is our album club. And Joe, tell the listeners, what did you recommend last week for me and the listeners to have a listen to, I suppose you could say.
So I recommended an album by the incredible Reba McEntire, and the album was called Read My Mind.
No, go on, I'm messing. Read My Mind, yes.
Oh, so you've put me off now. What happened? Why were you laughing?
I said, I've never heard of her.
Oh, I can't hear you.
You can't hear it.
You can't crack a joke in the middle of it because I can't hear you.
Yeah, okay. No, we'll start again then. That's fine. Or no, here, no. We'll cut there. Go. I recommended. You say. You can carry on there.
Okay. So I recommended the amazing Reba McEntire and her album Read My Mind. And what did you think of her?
I actually really like it. It was a banging album.
You liked one of mine.
I did. It was really, really good. Like Everything You Want, that's the first song. It kind of opened up nice and slow, and it's like almost like sexy kind of saxophone going, and like this really quiet intro, and then the beat kicks in. It's like, oh yeah, I'm digging this. And so the album, I went down a few songs, and you Read My Mind, and I Won't Stand in Line. Is like talking about all the other women that her man is seeing around town and all this kind of stuff. But I suppose I have to say, about halfway through the album, I was like, okay, a little bit of melodrama overload. I have to take a little break for this for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I came back to it.
It's storytelling, isn't it?
It is. I was like, oh my God, there's too much emotions going on. So I had to take a break after maybe 5 songs, and they came back and finished the album. But I suppose the standout song would be And Still. That's probably one of her, I'm guessing that's probably one of her big famous songs of all time, I guess, is it?
It's actually not one of her big, it's on there twice, isn't it? Because there's a live version and there's the studio version.
So this is the 25th anniversary deluxe version. So I'm guessing it's probably remastered and such, but as far as I can tell, it's just that live song on the end, And Still. But yeah, that's a great story, and how she meets someone from her past, and they're like, oh, I missed you so much, and then his wife comes up and all this kind of crack. And then I suppose on the live version of the song, she tells a little story before the song starts, and she tells how they were going to record a music video, and this director wanted to go to Africa to get loads of colour in the shot and all this kind of stuff, vibrant colours and this kind of thing. But the record company was like, no, it's too far. We'll have to compromise. Okay, we'll go to Guatemala. Or what was it? Guatemala, wasn't it? So they went down to Guatemala and they shot the video. And then a few weeks later, they saw the video, and it was in like sepia tone or something like that. So pretty much black and white, you know. So she's like, I could have shot this in my backyard instead of having to go to Guatemala. But great little story. But yeah, great album. There's lovely instrumentation. There's great little lead guitar. I love that part. Really nice tone. I'd love to know actually if
I actually have a funny story about one of the songs in it that isn't hugely linked to the songs, but I actually won a pub quiz once.
Yeah.
Because of the song Why Haven't I Heard From You?
Yeah.
The very first line is back in 1876, an old boy named Bill, and it all talks about him inventing the telephone. And I was in a pub quiz, and the final tiebreaker question was what year was the telephone invented? And I knew it. Yeah, I was so confident because of that song. So it's educational as well.
Brilliant. But I really enjoyed this. I'll definitely stick this on again, the next few weeks. I
was going to recommend like her greatest hits, which is like 50 songs on it. But her, her songwriting ability, her storytelling, and, her story, if nobody's ever really looked into Reba, really go into her story and look at,
very little about her,
what she's been through. So she actually, this, really, really sad story way back in the 90s, I think it was, she missed a flight. She missed a flight that was a private plane, and her entire band were on the flight, and the plane crashed, and her whole crew, everybody, passed away in it, and there was only her left. And there's a lot of, if you look at some of her songs from around that sort of time, there's a lot of pain, obviously. But yeah, I would recommend anybody to just go and research into Reba, and there's loads on YouTube and things like that of stories and interviews that she's done, and documentaries and things. And I think she's wrote a book as well, actually. I've never actually read it, and I would love to get it, but I think it's only available in America. So anybody wants to send me a copy, that would be really cool. But no, she's an incredible woman.
Yeah, I didn't know that story. That story reminds me of Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper. They were on a plane crash. But did you know that Waylon Jennings was Buddy Holly's bassist at the time?
He gave up his seat, didn't he?
That's right. He gave up his seat to the Big Bopper. And so he went in the tour bus when Jennings did. But he obviously survived the plane crash, and he wasn't on it to begin with. But that actually leads me to my song suggestion. We'll get to that in a second. But What did I suggest?
I was saying we seem to have taken a turn. Let's lift things up a bit.
We'll lift it up again a bit. But I suggested Sina Thiel's EP, Leaving Nancy to You. Joe, what did you think of it?
Yeah, so obviously it was a nice short album for me. I obviously know Sina. I love that you've picked an Irish person. You're very into your American country, which is cool. I love my American country as well, but I like that we've got, another Irish on here. I do think that she's somebody that's quite underrated within the Irish singing community and things like that. She is very talented, and we are having her on quite soon, aren't we? That's for a little bit of an exclusive that she will be coming in for a chat with us. Short album. Obviously, the title track, Leaving Nancy, is probably my favourite song out of the four. It sounds really silly saying the four. They were all great. It's on my playlist, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think Bible in 44 is the second track. It's very good. It's actually an Ashley McBride song. She's an American singer as well. She's very good. But yeah, Sina is, I think her voice is lovely. It's really kind of smooth, kind of relaxing kind of tone to it, I guess.
It's not often you pick a smooth, relaxing song, is it? You're a bit of a metalhead.
Funny enough, I think she used to actually be in rock bands and stuff as well. So I'm kind of
she's got a very alternative vibe, hasn't she?
Yeah, it's just that kind of rock and roll vibe, kind of, I suppose, similar enough kind of vibe that I might be doing as well, that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to talk to her about all that when we get her on, hopefully in a few weeks' time.
Watch this space.
But I think it might change things up a little bit going forward. Instead of suggesting a whole album for each of us to listen to and all this, we're just going to kind of recommend a track each week for you and for each other to have a listen to. And maybe we won't do a whole big review of it in future and stuff, because I suppose technically we're not music reviewers, so we'll leave that to the pros. But yeah, we're going to just do that. And for this week, I suggest one track. It's going to be actually related to what we're talking about, Waylon Jennings on giving up his seat to the Big Popper and that. But I'm suggesting Shooter Jennings. This is Waylon Jennings' son. He's a great country singer in his own right, with kind of, I suppose, rock elements as well. But the song I'm going to suggest is Bound to Get Down. It's a real kind of dance, kind of, not dance number.
It sounds more like a disco song than a country.
Bound to Get Down. No, when I say dance, it's like you'll be bopping around the place when you're listening to this. It's like, foot tapping kind of, it's a great little song. So listeners, have a listen to that, and Jodie, have a listen to it as well. But what's your track? We'll call it Track of the Week. That's what we'll call this segment now, instead of Album Club.
So my Track of the Week, Copper, you've possibly already done your homework here and will have heard this. But for everyone else, go out and have a listen and let us know what you think. It's somebody we have actually had on the podcast already. If you stay to the end of their podcast, you would have heard it. But it's by a guy called Keelan Brown, and the song is Hello Darling, which is do you remember who sung it originally now, Copper? Because, you got it wrong last time.
I got it wrong. I think we were just talking about George Jones somewhere. It's like, oh yeah, that song Hello Darling by George Jones. Like, no, that's Conway Twitty. Oh, damn, you're right. I got mixed up in my head. But yeah, Conway Twitty's song Hello Darling. That's it. So
that's my recommendation for this week for you, Copper, and for the listeners at home.
Yeah, brilliant. And I suppose that's rounding up the episode now. So if you want to tell the people where they could find us on the socials, Joe, if they want to follow us.
So we are on all the good socials. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We are at Folkin Around Podcast. And on Twitter, we are Folkin Around Pod.
Brilliant. And if you want to find myself, I'm Copper Kelly Music on pretty much all the social medias nowadays, except for, I think, Twitter's Copper Kelly IRL. So you'll find me on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and all those good places. But where can they find yourself, Joe?
So I am on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and I am at Welcome to Jodie Land, and I am on Twitter, which is Welcome to Jodie.
Brilliant.
Hopefully nice and simple to remember.
Tell the people, who are we going to have on next week for the interview?
So next week's episode, I'm very, very excited. I know you've all been waiting for this one. We are finally going to release the episode with Gary Gamble.
Yes. Oh, it's a crack of an episode. We were laughing our heads off the whole time. And then he went on to a great ghost story, but we'll say no more.
A ghost story or two, should we say?
Or 3 or 4. So it's really class. I'm really excited for this one as well. But I suppose that wraps up our episode this week. Have you anything more to say, Joe, before we say goodbye?
No, thank you all for listening in, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
That's it. And stick around to listen to Kit's song by Kenan Flannery. But for now, bye, folkers.
Bye.
No money to my name, just holes in my pocket, no land I do claim. I bear nothing but bad news, can't pay my monthly dues. I've nothing without you, I've nothing without you. Well, the seasons are changing. It's cold and then it's warm. We're in the heart of the storm, and it's too loud to think. But the night is coming fast, and the motorway is long. But there's light outside the storm, and the light shines to you. So come on one and come on all, the engine's ticking still. I'm driving on to you. And the beauty of the north shines down a golden star, engraved in my heart for your eyes alone. And I've friends in the dark, 'cause the light rarely shines, but in this heart of mine it shines when I see you. On the day that nature calls, empires will rise and fall, and at the end of it all, I'll be thinking just of you. And the mountains call the sea, and death will call on me, or wherever I may be, I'll always wait for you. So come on one and come on all, the engine's ticking still. I'm driving on to you. So come on one and come on all, the engine's ticking still. 'Cause I'm driving on